Hello everyone, welcome to Humanities Gurukul, your one-stop solution for social studies. So today we will start our discussion with the first chapter of class 8's standard history. So as chapter goes, how, when, where. So in simple terms, it is the very basic introduction about history, right? So why dates are important? So in history, you will notice one thing that mostly it is full of dates, important events, right? And maybe because of this reason many people find it somewhat boring. History somewhat or sometimes considered like synonymous with dates. So it is simple. So some historians also think that history is all about dates. So, if we discuss about the basic of history, so history is simple study of past. Study of past. Why? We just try to understand the changes over time so that we can compare past to present and we can go to some development. We can analyze the development. So it is simple. Then, uh, see, studying history is somewhat linked with interpretation, that how we are seeing history. So history reading always evolved. Something which was 100 years back, it is not now. So if we go by the NCERT, so whatever changes we are seeing like tea or railway with newspaper then printing, nothing started in any one day, but instead a course of time. So we cannot find any precise day for these things. Precise day is missing. Why? Because you cannot tell me any one day when people started drinking tea or any one day that this railway started. So all this development or be just more suitable example, the establishment of British rule. It did not started in any one particular day, but it was somewhat a group of process. They started with traders, then eventually they started spreading their colonialism and eventually imperialism, and they became ruler. So if we have to discuss about establishment of British rule, so we would consider period, some sort of decade instead of any precise date. So if we discuss about historical transition, historical transition. So initially or previously, so it mostly focused upon the major event. Major event, you can say the accession of any ruler or birth of any ruler or policies. Like in history, if we discuss about modern history, so Asoka is considered to be very important ruler, right? So we know that the event that when he started his Dhamma policy or when he took the throne. But now what happened? Now we are going with diverse topic. So these major event were mostly politically influenced. But if you go with diverse topic, so diverse topic will talk about the social factor, the economic factor like livelihood or urbanization or cultural evolution. So you are noticing one thing that in this event, precise date is important. Precise date is important, but in this topic, no, it is not required. Why? Because how you will study livelihood or organization in particular period or particular time. So we just discuss apart from this precise date. We just give some century or some decade, right? So now the next topic which we'll discuss, that which date. Like we have 365 days in a year, then all days are important. Absolutely not. Suppose anyone uh, in this class, so you are having some important date in your life, like someone's birthday, your family birthday or friend birthday, right? So you will remember mostly those days only. Like don't get confused into entire things. You can't retain everything, right? So important, if we focus some particular event like battle of Plassey, it is very important. Why? Because it laid the foundation of British rule in India. So it is very important, right? In similar way, Buxar or 1857 revolt. So these are somewhat important event. That's why we are just focusing on its date, right? And at the same time, if we change our focus, if we change our focus, then issues and context change. So suppose now if we are talking about these revolts, so these were somewhat political event, like how British rule just overthrew or subjugated Indian system. But suppose for example, if we are targeting in this topic only 1857, if we are going with some social aspect, that what was the social impact, why this pushed 1857. So now you are seeing focus change. Now focus is on society. So now issues and context. Why? Because now we will go with somewhat common people. What common people faced. Common people faced during British rule and how they just united themselves. Then the most precise example, which is also mentioned in your textbook, the rule of each governor general. So if you are going with British history, so governor general is something very important. Why? Because it was central figure of British rule. Like started with Warren Hastings and last was Mountbatten. So what we are doing in this topic, focus now change to Governor General. So in this topic we will focus on the their action, their action or their policies or whatever achievement happened in their rule, right? Now, if you are going with, say, now this is somewhat all thing is politically influenced. But we are seeing that something that if you are targeting on this topic, then issue of common people is somewhat subjugated. So then we will go with alternate historical narratives. So in this system, what we are doing, have alternate historical narrative. So here what we do, we just focus on activities of different group and classes in Indian society. As I have discussed with you, the social issue of 1857. So what we are doing now, we are shifting our focus from political to social history. So history, just for our convenience, is often divided into chapters. Chapters. Why? Because just to provide coherence and structure to narratives. So what is happening, as I told you, that in history of governor general, so role and activities of Indians are often marginal marginalized. Like we just leave this important topic. Why? Because we are too much obsessed with studying about governor general. So now this brings us to one topic, that how to create more inclusive history. See what we are doing. So in history we are having some set of interpretation, initially politically infused, eventually we just shift our focus to some other aspect other than political history. So now how to make it more inclusive? So new format needed. New format needed. So it will discuss about various other group, like what they contributed in Indian history, how they were important, and what will happen. This focus, if we shift our focus, I'm discussing this topic like it is all about focus. So now, apart from this political history, politically, so if we are changing our focus, so shift of focus. So what will happen then? So it would lead us to re-evaluation of significant date. So now new date became important. So just you can link it with your own life. So last year you were in 7th standard, right? In that you study about medieval history. But this year you are studying about modern history. So now you have new dates. Why? Because you have shifted your focus from medieval to modern. So you are getting this point, that how shifting of focus is important. So in similar way, just keep here that now you are shifting your focus from political to somewhat social or economic history. So it will give you some new dates. New dates like I'll give you one example. Like if you study about social dates, so famine became very important events during British rule. Why? Because too much pressure was there put on normal Indians. So eventually they end up losing everything. And famines were also very frequent occurring event. So how it impacted like social life and economic life of people. So now from administrative rule, we just shift our focus to famine. So in similar fashion, we have to study history, that how it is changing, how we have to reevaluate same thing, like in some different perspective, keeping different focus. So thank you for today. We will take up further discussion in next class.